Let's talk about some ninjas. So I remember being 9, 10 years old, walking into a store and seeing this, mysterious dude all in white with swords and nunchucks and just kind of falling in love. And after that, I wanted to be a ninja. I in fact told everybody at school that I was a ninja. I am not a ninja. I did not grow up to be a ninja, just so you know. Not in the least. But it wasn't ambitious for a while. So today we're going to talk about what made that happen for me, which is G.I. Joe, the creation of Storm Shadow, and the introduction of ninjas into my mental Rolodex, in which I had not known. I didn't know what they were before that. I think they were just sort of entering the media landscape as being like a huge thing. American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff, it came out around then. But G.I. Joe was the introduction. Now, since then, G.I. Joe's gone a little ninja crazy. There's a little too many ninjas, and that's what we're going to talk about. There's too many fucking ninjas, okay? But I'm going to rank them from what I think is the worst to the best. And, you might have a similar ranking. This is my opinion. But I'm also going to use this as a way to kind of introduce you to, for those who are not completely, just immersed. I mean, you might be like a semi-expert in G.I. Joe, and you still might not know some of these things because I had to go on a deep dive. And there's just so many different continuities. There's Devil's Due, and there's IDW, and there's, Larry Hama loves his ninjas, man. Larry Hama is all ninja nuts. He's got a million ninjas. He throws one out every issue, it seems like. So there's a lot of ninjas. And so we're going to go from worst to best and give you a kind of little mini history of ninjas in G.I. Joe in the process. And I'll give you my take on them. Now, so some of the rules, I'm sure I'm going to miss a couple. Okay, there's like too freaking many of them, like I said. But the rules I'm playing by, I'm not going by every single ninja in every movie. I'm going to go with, if it had an action figure, it's in. If it's in the Hamaverse, it's in. If it maybe is in one of the other, Devil's Due, but didn't quite make it to the Hamaverse, I might still include it just to be thorough, but I reserve the right to miss a few because there's way too many fucking ninjas. Okay, so let's go from the bottom to the top here. And so the very, very bottom, I'm just going to put this one at the bottom as for a specific reason, and no shot at the actress and the martial artist who played this character, but there's a reason why I think she deserves the bottom. And this is Akiko from the Snake Eyes Origins movie. Now, again, actress, great, good job, not your fault, okay? Don't blame you. She's a great martial artist. She's talented. Here's my problem with Akiko from the Snake Eyes Origins movie. And we had to include her because she has a figure. All right. She's like the dumbest character I've ever seen in a movie. She is dumber than the girl in a slasher movie who goes like back up the stairs to see what the slasher is. She is just a moron. Okay, she is like, Snake Eyes has betrayed her in every way. For every reason, she should just chop his fucking head off and be done with the movie. I think she should have done that. And she just lets him just slide. She, saves his life I think because she's thirsty. That's it. She's just horny. She's horny for Snake Eyes. And that's all there is to her character is she's horny for Snake Eyes and she's dumb. Again, sorry actress, you did a great job. It's not your fault. It's the screenwriter's fault. Just, no fault on your part. Action scenes were great. The next thing I want to go to is there are just a couple of really lazy repaints, that G.I. Joe throws out over the years, and they all look the same. They all look exactly like Storm Shadow, but slightly painted. So going down the line, we have the Ninja Viper. Okay, I don't really care about the Ninja Viper. Blue as opposed to red or white. It's the same freaking thing. Go past. Then we're going to see, again, the Black Dragon Ninjas, which came in a 6-pack of ninjas somewhere along the line. There is some lore as the Black Dragon Ninjas exist in the Hamaverse as an older clan of ninjas that reemerge at some point. But I'm just going to put them in lazy repaint category. Move on to the next. So down the line, we're going to see Slash. Now, Slash appeared as a Valor versus Venom. This is a Cobra Ninja. He's an enemy, and again, just like a lazy design that just didn't really do anything for me. He just looks so bland. So let's move on from him too. Okay, so let's talk about Blue Ninja Robots. There is a whole arc in the Larry Hama IDW series where Blue Ninja Robots show up, and I do not love this. It was kind of fun, I'm going to admit. It was like, I'm going to be nitpicky and also admit that it wasn't a bad read, but they're like blue ninjas. They're robots, but they're sentient and smart, and they have basically lightsabers that are like, almost like lightsaber whips, which get overused, and they have, their leaders are, giant, massive robots with 6 arms and shit. And it's just, it just doesn't feel like it's part of this world. So it's a little too sci-fi for me. And so I'm not a fan of the blue ninja robot ninjas. Put them down low on the list. Now we're getting into the good stuff, okay? Ninja Force.
Ninja Force! The Joes lose again, Scarlet!
You're the one that just rolled Snake Eyes.
It's the G.I. Joe Ninja Force with real ninja moves!
And this is going to be, most of these are going to lay low on the list of here, because not my favorite era of G.I. Joe. At this point, I got to admit, as much as I loved ninjas and was super into, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and the Blood Sword Brother rivalry and all that, there came a point late in the game when they just started releasing these colorful ninjas, and ninjas that change color, and ninjas that don't move because they have and then they have like a big butt Scarlet Ninja that she does a big butt so she can have like mechanism that allows her kick, but she looks like she's like not working out anymore, which is not a good idea. If you're in an elite strike force, you should probably exercise more than your average person. Nobody shaming here. I'm saying she's a warrior. Got to be in better shape. Can't have that. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So that era of the G.I. Joe is not my favorite. There's a couple of gems in there. There's a couple of good things, and I do like some of it, but not a fan overall of the line. And I'm not including Scarlet. Scarlet's not a ninja. She just like hung out with ninjas. And you can argue that maybe at one point she probably did learn like every trick from Snake Eyes. I'd imagine, and they're together for that long, that she would learn all the tricks. But I still think she's not a ninja. She's ninja adjacent, so she's off the list. So now we're going one of the crappiest characters possibly the crappiest character in the Ninja Force line, Chizin. I'm going to say it wrong. Jin Zhu. Okay, the reason why he's so crappy, the pile driver operator, right? So if you remember these, the Ninja Force had these vehicles that were just beyond stupid. I mean, like, I can appreciate a dumb vehicle like the Pogo. Like, the Pogo is awesome, right? Big, giant Pogo jumping up around, shooting missiles and things. Yeah, it jumps the shark of reality, but it's just fun and cool. This thing is just dumb. It just does not work in any way. It just sort of like rides around, swings a little hammer around somebody. It's just stupid, and it doesn't belong in the line. So he gets low ratings for being on that dumbass toy in one of the worst years in the G.I. Joe. If you want to check out my ranking of the worst years of G.I. Joe, you can check out a video ranking G.I. Joe right here. Now let's get back to Ninja Force. I don't hate all of Ninja Force, okay? For those of you, I know there's some 93, 94 stands out there who love that era, and I get it. I probably was a little younger at the time. They would have been fun, though. They were fun. I like having a bunch of ninjas. And I like some of these characters. Bushido, because he's an Arctic ninja. Because he likes to practice his ninja in the snow and ice. Why? That makes no sense. It just doesn't look great. He says something about on his file card about how he wears a traditional samurai helmet because he's a ninja. I don't know. Just like his father did. And then you realize his name is like Larry, Goldstein or something. He's not, he's not Japanese. He's not, where's the line of warriors that would have lots of samurai garb? You just kind of, I always got his name wrong, something like that. It's like, well, I don't know, whatever. We'll look it up. But he's not Japanese. He's not Asian. He's just, so I don't know why. I just have like a dad that's just sitting there in a samurai garb, hanging out. Not a samurai. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can have white ninjas and white samurai, but Not really likely. Okay. So next thing we're gonna go going past Bushido. So now there's the Blue Ninjas. So the Blue Ninjas originally were again a lazy repaint, but they got a little upgrade when they released the 2-pack for the classified series, and I do like that 2-pack. It's got a couple of masks, and Oni and Kitsune mask, which are ancient masks used to terrify your enemies, and so that gives them a little bit of an edge. They also show up in the comic book occasionally, almost identical to that pack, but I don't think they're supposed to be the same thing, as rival ninja clan to the Arashikage. So that gives them a little edge. Down on the list we have the Night Creeper Commander. The Night Creepers, I love the Night Creepers. Night Creeper Commander just doesn't look like a Night Creeper Commander. I feel like he should put more clothes on. They're supposed to be these high-tech ninjas, right, that use technology in a way most ninjas don't. And yet, Ninja Creeper Commander is walking around in his pajamas, and I just don't think he looks that great. Or is he a memorable character? He's pretty much Z-list G.I. Joe villain, so we'll put him kind of low. We're going to jump into a couple of minor characters from the comic book, and some of these are really good, have a good story arc, but they just don't make it very far. So number one is Ophelia. Now, Ophelia is Snake Eye's first apprentice, and this comes from a series, it's Devil's Due, I believe, called Master and Apprentice, which is pretty good. And Ophelia goes on, he's training her. Snake Eyes is training her. Scarlet gets a little jealous, but it's nothing sexual. He's just training her. He wouldn't do that shit. And so they go on their first mission, and she just dies, right? She's just done. So I'm putting her low on the list just for, dying so fast, right? I mean, it's just come on. Make at least 2-3 issues, and then you get a better spot here. Similarly, but better than Ophelia, we have Junko Akita. And this is from the Master and Apprentice 2 series, which is Devil's Due, and is actually Storm Shadow's Master Apprentice story. Much better story, much more interesting. And the reason I really love this one is because I think Storm Shadow, and one of the things that makes him such an interesting character, why he's going to be real high on this list, as you can guess, is that he's a complex character in that he's always sort of screwing up, right? He means well. He's a good guy. But even from their first training sessions, this is why the Hard Master chooses Snake Eyes over and favors Snake Eyes over Storm Shadow. It's because he's always screwing up. He's making immoral and bad decisions. So Storm Shadow has an apprentice who is also his lover. Also, not a good thing. He can get canceled for that. I think Me Too, Storm Shadow. I'm kidding. I'm not going there. I'm just saying he'd probably Me Too. You can't do that. But anyway, he does it, and then he brings her into the fold. He trains her to be a ninja. It's his lover, and then she gets kidnapped by Saiten, and then who we'll get to later, and she's transformed into somebody she hates Storm Shadow. She's tortured to a point where she hates and tries to kill Storm Shadow, and he goes in to rescue her, and he just has to kill her, and he just wants to die after that. Now this is what I think is so interesting about Storm Shadow. He's so conflicted. He's always screwing up. He can't get over. He just constantly causing havoc with his messed up, more not solid sense of morality, right? And this is when he is a G.I. Joe. This is when he's a good guy, right? He's still fucking up. So he screws up, he gets her killed, and he just he thinks about committing suicide at that moment, but he does not. So Junko Akita, cool character. Check it out, Master and Apprentice, worth reading. So the next one on the list but low on the list is Banzai. Okay, Banzai is he's a shirtless guy, orange face mask. I'm gonna give him points because he looks very cool. He actually looks cool. But then you read his file card and he's just not. Okay, he's not. He's a stupid character. It says something about he's a nunchuck trainer, and we need a guy that's all he does is he trains you on nunchucks. No, and then it says he has a special move, the Suzuki Slam or something. it's just stupid. And at this point, I don't think Larry Hama was writing the file cards. He can't be because either he had an aneurysm and he's now writing the file cards, or and I know he was fine now. He's writing the comic book. So or somebody took it from him for some reason, and I'd like to know the history of that. But he's whoever's writing them is just not a good writer, and these are bad. So Banzai gets low ratings for me, but still looks good. I would say he's a good looking character. Next on the list, we're going up and getting to the good stuff now, but we're still not there. We're going to see Vipra, okay? So Vipra, which the Classified series just came out with just a little while ago in the Python Patrol Vipra, and that figure is great, okay? That is a good looking figure. They give her a nice mask. She's got some, they're going ninja crazy too. I think they have the same like ninja addiction Larry Hama had at the Classified. It's like you can calm down on the ninjas for just a minute and give me some more soldiers. Give me the original 13 before you give me another freaking ninja. Unless you're going to give me one of the awesome ones that we don't have, sure, okay, like Billy. I'll take Billy. I'll take a couple of these in the higher up on the list. But you're going to give me Vipra. Nah. Wait, give me something new or something cooler. But Vipra, she comes from the line. There's been several figures of Viper, but all after the expiration date of G.I. Joe, all in the later series, in packages. And what I don't like about Viper is she's just a repaint, or she barely looks any different from a Cobra version of Jinx. So she's kind of bland looking, and therefore she gets a low mark for me. So next we're going to get to where I get the Ninja Force stuff gets kind of fun. And we've got Chibang. How do you say that? I don't know. Chibang? Chitty Bang Bang? I don't know. That guy. He's got a good look. He's got some interesting weapons, and he was a fun addition when Ninja Force was just starting out and was kind of cool. I was kind of into it, but right before it went, like, let's have a million of them and have them be dumb. So he gets this rating for me as one of the more tolerable of the Ninja Force characters. Right above Chitty Bang Bang, is Dojo. Again, good looking character. I'm going to give him the spot above because he's bald. And, so my bald brethren, he gets one above Chibang. They're pretty interchangeable. There's not much of a difference between the two characters. But again, this is the good part of Ninja Force where I'm sort of liking it. Now we're going to jump into, and this person's going to be on the list a couple times, okay? And Throwdown. Sean, a.k.a. Sean Collins. Now, so if you don't know the history, I'm putting him kind of low on the list because he's a pretty major character. Sean Collins is both known as Throwdown, and he is also known as Kamakura. And the Kamakura, I'd put him high. I like Kamakura. He's all right. He's of the Ninja Force type thing. He's way up there for me as one of the cooler versions of it. But where he sits low, and there's a good reason for this, is as Throwdown. So this comes from the series where they killed Snake Eyes, which is I'm still bitter about. I'm getting over it a little bit because Snake Eyes is apparently back alive because nobody can die in G.I. Joe. I knew when I got really angry when I found out they'd killed Snake Eyes, and then I read the comic, I got really angry because I thought it was a really I love Larry Hama. I think he's a genius. I love the majority of his work. I just don't think that was a good comic. I think that the writing on that issue was dumb. It did not sell me. It didn't sit with me right that Snake Eyes would go down that easy, and to actually officially kill Snake Eyes. And then he did another thing too, which I also find really annoying, which is Snake Eyes died, and you have Sean Collins, who is the son of Wade Collins, who was a former Crimson Guard Fred, and he's all grown up, and he wants to become a soldier, and he's learned the Arashikage ways. And then as soon as Snake Eyes dies, like exactly the same time Snake Eyes dies, Throwdown, Sean Collins, burns his face off, loses his vocal cords, and now is and becomes the new Snake Eyes. And what's super annoying about this whole thing, and why he sits low on my list, is that this new Snake Eyes is just as good as Snake Eyes. So apparently all you got to do to be as good as Snake Eyes is burn your fucking face off and, get rid of your vocal cords and don a visor. Then the same thing with the Dawn Moreno thing, which we'll get to. I'll put her higher on the list. And for those of you who are not really paying attention to the comic book, this is a whole section of the comic that ends up being actually pretty good and pretty readable. But I'm not a fan of the ability to just make anybody Snake Eyes by burning their face off. No, he can't be as good. So Throwdown, not a great character. Not the best idea that Larry Hama's ever had. Moving up the list, the Red Ninjas. Now, the Red Ninjas are a clan of ninjas. They're former Arashikage ninjas that are cultivated by Arashikage warrior that turned against the clan. And so that's why they join up with Cobra, and they, have deep hatred for Storm Shadow until he tames them. So, of course, we love them from that first appearance in issue 21. Just love watching them get blown up, but they're pretty nondescript. Slightly above them, we're going to put the Red Ninja Commander, and this is Sai Tin, okay? And this is from the Devil's Due continuity. Sai Tin he's the guy who leads the Red Ninjas, and at some point, he's hunting down Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, fights Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes breaks his back and paralyzes him. He gets some sort of robotic implant, as everybody does, and later on, he comes back and he's more powerful, and he wreaks havoc on Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes to get revenge. It's a pretty good storyline until finally the Red Ninjas turn on him and fill him with arrows. That's Master and Apprentice to the Storm Shadow series. Again, I recommend it. So Sai Tin. What I also love about Sai Tin, his character, is that he's actually does have a figure, and the figure is the Argentinian repaint version of Storm Shadow from like 85, 86. He's all in red, and he was called Satan. Just Satan, right? So the Devil's Due people changed Satan to Sai Tin and gave us this leader of the Red Ninjas, and I think that's cool. I'd like to see a classified figure of him, especially with his cybernetic, back. Believe it or not, there's still a lot more ninjas. There's a ton of them. Okay. Another character that I'd love to see a classified figure of, and who had iterations in Devil's Due and the IDW, and is in the Hamaverse. So, but is also dead, is Pale Peony. Pale Peony is a blonde Russian, I think she's a daughter of Russian mafia, learns the Arashikage ways, and she has a run in which she fights alongside G.I. Joe and becomes an agent. Weird name, but you got a beautiful Russian girl in pink who's a ninja. I'm there for that. So give me that figure. Eventually she does buy it and is killed by some ninja robots. Next on here, we're going to have Ralph Balducci, right? AKA Nunchuck. And he gets bumped up on the list now for having a pretty great figure in the classified line that I liked a lot. Again, he's in that era of Ninja Force, which we like him. He's got a good look. The original had some limited mobility because of the insistence on them making you have to be able to do weird ninja moves by pressing their legs and crap. His wasn't that bad, though. I think he just went like this with his, arms. So I didn't mind him too much, but he's all right. And Italian Ninja, give you credit for that. Can't be that many Italian ninjas, I guess, but maybe there's a lot of them. You're going to come at me because this guy's low on the list for me, but it's not that he's low on the list as a character. It's just he's low on the list as a ninja because I don't think of him as a ninja. And this is Firefly. So Firefly, if you're not aware, is revealed late in the Larry Hama Marvel run to have been a ninja who joined the Arashikage and became the Faceless Master and plotted to destroy Storm Shadow, and then sort of didn't, and then hired Zartan to me, it was just like once they did the reveal and said, "Oh, by the way, Zartan's a ninja," that was great and very cool, and I loved that session. And then it was like 5 years later, it's like, "Oh, by the way, and also Firefly," because we've done nothing with Firefly, and the entire time that we've had him in the comic book or cartoon or anything, and he's everybody's favorite villain. Guess what? He was ninja, and now he's wearing green, and he just, to me, I would rather just forget that and just let him be a saboteur. And debatable as even really is a ninja. Did he have all that much training? So he goes low on the list, even though if it was characters, he would be high on the list. But this is not the characters. This is them as ninjas, and had to include him. The next we're going to go up, and is a character that you may not know unless you were into the IDW Cobra series, which is one of the best things ever written for G.I. Joe. This is a character called Ronin, and what Ronin is she's a ninja agent. She gets a lot of story in that Cobra series. She's very badass, kind of a more violent and gritty version of G.I. Joe. So the fact that she is in that series gives her a lot of a weight here and puts her high on the list, even though she's not a very prominent character. Never had a figure that I'm aware of. Next on the list is a fairly obscure one. This is actually from Sigma 6, and this is the Dark Ninja Master. And this was late in the line for Sigma 6, and it was supposed to become the main antagonist. And why I'm putting him so high is just this thing looks unbelievable. I think Sigma 6 is pretty underrated, but this guy looks incredible. He can, pick up knives with his feet. He's got a crazy shock of hair. He's tattooed all over his body with the Arashikage logo, and he just looks so great. And even though he's done no presence in basically any media, I'd like to see them bring him in because, man, he looks incredible. Now we're going to get to the core of the Arashikage lore, and I'm going to give you them in the order of how I find them to be interesting. Professor Onehashi is the swordsmith. He is sort of like Hattori Hanzo in Kill Bill, right? He's like a master swordsmith. He creates Morning Light, which is Snake Eye's sword, and also it's the fake version of Morning Light, Evening Stun. I can't remember what it's called. But so he's a swordsmith, and Zartan works for him. Onehashi dies, and Zartan feels very guilty for it because he is moved by his experience learning how to create swords from Professor Onehashi. And now if you have an Onehashi sword, that sword is sharper, harder. It can do more damage than a normal sword. It's almost magic, but it's probably not really magic. It's more like you would look at it exactly like Kill Bill, Hattori Hanzo's sword. It's essentially the same thing. Beyond that, we're going to have next the Blind Master. Now, the Blind Master, one of the only cool things about Retaliation was the RZA playing the Blind Master, right? So Blind Master, and that is keeping the comic book, is African-American dude, older, and he's alive for a while in the comic after the Soft Master and the Hard Master are dead. He meets up with Zartan, and they have a fist fight, and Zartan stabs him to death and just murders him mercilessly and just like weeps afterwards. He's sort of broken by the experience. And this becomes a part of the character arc of Zartan, where he turns and he realizes the error of his ways, and he doesn't become good, but he becomes more like Destro, where he's an honorable man and he makes decisions based on, honor, sometimes siding with Storm Shadow, sometimes against him, sometimes siding with Joe's against Cobra Commander, and he becomes very fast. And I think those two characters, the Destro and Zartan, both share that really interesting dichotomy of being bad guys who are bad, but also have, an honor system and have some good things about them, even though they're, pretty bad. Thanks. So one thing about the Arashikage symbol, if you're familiar, this is a symbol from the I Ching, and that Larry Hama grabbed. Now, the truth of the matter is Larry Hama grabbed the first one he saw that looked good and did not have a deep intention of what he was trying to do with that. He found a good looking one that would look best, and he threw it on there last minute. He didn't know what it meant either. He famously writes page by page. He doesn't know the whole arc of stories. He's writing as he goes. He's figuring things out issue by issue. So, but the real meaning of the I Ching symbol that the Arashikage use is, it means water over fire, the image of the condition in after completion. Thus, the superior man takes thought of misfortune and arms himself against it in advance. So it's about caution. It's about knowing that bad things are coming and you're going to arm yourself to take it on. That is the symbol. A lot of people are tattooing on their forearm. I'm thinking about getting one, but I haven't done it yet. The next we have the Hard Master, who is the murder of the Hard Master is the thing that kicks off the sword brother rivalry between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Storm Shadow has to go undercover thinking that pretending that he killed the Hard Master, everybody thinking that he did, which in reality it was not him, it was Zartan. Zartan had retrieved the arrow from a squirrel that Storm Shadow had shot the day before, so it had his fingerprints on it. It was one of his arrows. He uses it, kills the Hard Master, really trying to kill Snake Eyes. And this kicks off Storm Shadow's path to the dark side, much different from the very stupid reason in the Snake Eyes Origins movie that Storm Shadow becomes a bad guy, right? This makes more sense. This is much more interesting, okay? It's G.I. Joe. It doesn't have to make sense a little bit, just a little bit, but not too much. And my favorite of them all is going to be the Soft Master. And the reason why I like the Soft Master is he gets some story in the comic book, and I just like that he's like a pudgy old dude. You know, it's like he's a soft, pudgy old dude. He's sort of lovable. And, you know, there's a pretty great issue where he's at a shop and it's getting robbed and he disassembles a gunman's weapon with like a touch, you know, just like completely cleans it, you know, right in front of him. And so the Soft Master was a great character. I don't think we ever get a figure of him either. I want a figure. Give us one, Hasbro. So I pleaded for that figure in my video, and I have a series of videos advocating for deep cuts from the comics and the cartoons and other mythologies that Hasbro could bring into classifieds. So you want to check that video, it's right here. This would have been at the bottom of my list at one point, but now is sort of in the middle. I made a point to read all of the comics. Even though I'd held off because I was mad they killed Snake Eyes, I stopped. I was like, nope, don't want to know. Stupid, don't want to. Okay, I finally got over it and I read it. And it's actually the death of Snake Eyes bit is dumb. That issue, the 4 issues where Snake Eyes dies is dumb. Snake Eyes brain patterns are stored in the brainwave scanner by Dr. Venom. And they implant them in a young girl named Dawn Moreno. And Dawn Moreno becomes the new Snake Eyes, right? And at first glance, I will admit I had the same reaction maybe some of you would have, which is, I don't want a new Snake Eyes. I certainly don't want a new female Snake Eyes or any new Snake Eyes. There is only one Snake Eyes. And I still stand by that. However, having read it now and understanding now that Snake Eyes is alive again, which is predictable. And I don't know why my brain didn't go there and go, oh yeah, they're going to keep Snake Eyes dead. Yeah, just like they did Captain America, just like they did, Storm Shadow when he died and Serpentor when he died. And no, they're going to resurrect them in some dumb way, as they do all the time. That's the way of comic books, right? It's what happens when you have to do 300 issues of something. You're going to do some dumb stuff. So now over my anger because Snake Eyes is back alive and I can get over it. I could just look at that run as being a very interesting run. And now we have Dawn Moreno, who is her own character. She has the memories and the abilities of Snake Eyes. She grew up at Cobra Youth. Cobra Commander takes a liking to her, brings her in, the Baroness trains her, and then they strap her into the brainwave scanner and turn her into Snake Eyes, give him his memories. But then the following issues are pretty great in that she is struggling with, she has all these memories of Snake Eyes. She has this power, and she's trying to figure out how to be herself and yet not be overpowered by the memories of this incredibly powerful person. At the same time, we've got another Snake Eyes. Sean Collins is playing Snake Eyes. So after reading the comic, it's a pretty good comic. I'm over it. And it's a great looking costume. So, one of the things that apparently Larry Hama wanted to see, he thought about how could somebody cosplay this, and he created, I think, a great cosplay costume, which is the Dawn Moreno Snake Eyes. She's pretty great. And so now that Snake Eyes is back, I can get over my dislike of her taking his place and just be cool with her as a good and interesting character. So we're good. You and me are good, Don. Okay. Up on the list here, we're going to get into some villains here. And we got Dice and Slice. All right, I'm going to put them in this order, Dice, then Slice. Now, I love this duo. There's something funny about these two. They have these rhyming names. They hang out together, and they're just, the evil Ninja Force guys. They've got a good loadout of weapons. They have a good look, too. They're good-looking characters. So even though I said I'm done with ninjas in the classified line, I do want a Slice and Dice 2-pack maybe, or, separately, whatever. Going up into the list, now we're getting towards the end. That's a lot of ninjas. Okay, so the Night Creepers. I love the Night Creepers. These are technologically advanced ninjas. But the Night Creepers had a great look, and when you add in the sort of technology, so there's a few things in the technology. One is they have an implant. In the one issue of the comic book, they have an implant where their blood pressure drops to a certain level, a trigger goes off and they explode. So I think that is kind of fun. But just having these technologically enhanced ninjas, they're their own clan, by the way. They're not really part of Cobra. They work for Cobra. They're contractors. So that is a whole other mythology to get into that I think is really interesting. Okay, now we're going up the list, number 6. Obake Obasan. I probably said it wrong. Demon Granny. Okay, so if you read the comics, you're going to see that a prominent figure and the matriarch of the Arashikage clan is an old woman whose main weapon is a Prada handbag that she fills with bricks. Okay, and she can fuck up anybody with this handbag, which is pretty silly, but she ends up being a pretty great character. She's Storm Shadow's aunt. She's so, and her name translates to literally Demon Granny. Okay, and she's a ferocious fighter and pretty interesting character. Number 5 on the list, and I'm putting him low on the list. He'd be up there if he wasn't. But I just don't functionally think of Zartan as a ninja, even though he is. So here he's low. As low as you can put Zartan on anything, because he's one of the greatest characters. I think he's, to me, maybe 4th favorite character in the entire series. One below Scarlet. I don't know. But Zartan, so Zartan is a ninja. He does get his Ninja Force version where he's got a little orange mohawk. He looks like he's going out to the club. Doesn't look like he's going out ninjaing. It's kind of an okay look. If he didn't have the neon weapons, I'd be okay with it. It's also the first time he gets his compound bow, which he should have because he's a master of the compound bow. Okay, going up on the list, number 4. And this is one of my favorite characters in G.I. Joe. Also a great ninja character is Billy Kessler. Now, Billy is Cobra Commander's son, and please give us the Billy Kessler figure as I advocated in my video. Classified deep cuts we want. Billy, I think there may have been one figure in the convention exclusive figure once, but we haven't really had a great Billy Kessler figure. But so if you don't know the comic very well, Billy is Cobra Commander's son who deeply hates his father. He is, at some point, trained to go out, and he's a child who's going to perform in a ceremony celebrating Cobra, where the Cobra Commander is going to make a speech, and he is hiding a gun and he's going to shoot him in the head. Storm Shadow stops him, and then Cobra Commander realizes, oh my god, that's my son. He brings Billy into the fold, but Billy turns against his father, finally leaves by scrap iron. He's blown up. Billy loses his limbs, he loses his eye, and now he really hates his father. He trains to be a ninja with Storm Shadow and becomes Storm Shadow's main apprentice for years. And that becomes a really interesting storyline. And I do love that lore, the father-son dynamic, bringing that in, gives depth to the story. I think we need that. If there was a movie, I would put that in there, probably later in like movie 2 or 3, or a TV show or something. I'd put it in season 3. But you need that. That is the kind of stuff that lifts this above just being like military to really an epic fantasy drama that is really fascinating. I'm going to guess that these last 3 might be your last 3 too, but maybe in differing order. Number 3, we're going to put Jinx, Kim Arashikage. This is Storm Shadow's cousin, and she is, first emerged in the G.I. Joe movie, and she's bad luck. She gets her name because she's bad luck, but she's an incredible fighter, and she had some really good weapons. She's got a great look, and anxiously awaiting that figure. That was when the expansion into ninjas was exciting. You're like, oh, there's another ninja. I really want another ninja. And they gave you another ninja and a great one. And then later on, they gave you 500 of them. And you're like, not so much for the Arctic ninja, but I love Jinx. So Jinx, great, perfect ninja character, and holds her own in the comic book. Really interesting Jinx arc. If you want to check out the Cobra series by Mike Costa, Jinx has a pretty great arc in there. With chuckles, really worth reading. Okay, last 2. Obviously, I think you know who these 2 people are. And in my number 2 slot, I'm going to put Snake Eyes. And even though Snake Eyes is my favorite character of all time, I just don't think of Snake Eyes as ninja first. To me, Snake Eyes is a commando with ninja training, not a ninja that became a commando, right? Commando is his identity. I'm more excited by a commando that secretly has ninja training than I am about like going over the top and ninja. So for me, Snake Eyes gets one below as the best ninja in the story. Now, of course, he is amazing. I think he is the 2, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, are almost magical in how incredibly good they are at what they do, at killing and destruction and fighting. They push the limits of what a human being should be able to do without going over and becoming superheroes. They're on that border, which I think is one of the things I love about the story so much, is that it can push you to that border but not go over. And so it's still exciting. This is another thing that missed from the movie. In the movie Snake Eyes Origins, Snake Eyes is a pretty mediocre ninja. And that is not the story. The Snake Eyes I know is miraculously good at everything. He is incredible at everything. Also moral and centered person. Lots of lore. Lots of deep love with him, and what he does with the way he interacts with Scarlet and Stalker, and the way he, apprentices these people like Kamakura. He's just a great character, a great, Byronic hero in a way, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. But the number 1 ninja is the first ninja I ever saw, and that is Storm Shadow. His actual name is Tamabisora Arashikage. I believe I said that right. What I love about this character, not only the first time I saw him, just being so excited about having this, guy with katanas and nunchucks and, bow and arrow, and you didn't really know what he was, you didn't know anything about him. and then having him emerge in the comic book as a pretty ferocious villain who could take on just about anybody. And then the big reveal when, at the end of the silent interlude, we see that we see at the end of Silent Interlude that both, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes have the Arashikage, clan logo on their forearm. It was such a great magical thing. It was, I'm going back to the day when before you knew anything, you just like, oh my God, they're connected. How could they possibly connect it? It was similar to, the reveal of Luke, I am your father, and The Empire Strikes Back. And for me, I know much bigger cultural impact that had. But for me, I was a bigger G.I. Joe fan than I was a Star Wars fan, and I was a pretty big Star Wars fan. So the impact of seeing them both have the symbol on their forearm made me, blew my mind, thinking, oh my God, how are they connected? And then later on, he pays off and shows you how they are connected, and it's this very deep and rich backstory with backstabbing and, blood feuds, and you can see like there's this deep hatred and this deep love between them, and so there's just this loaded story. But then he grows and grows as a character, as you find he was infiltrating Cobra the whole time to try to get to find out the identity of the true killer of the Hardmaster. But even then, when you think about it, infiltrating Cobra means you're doing all kinds of assassinations, you're killing people, you're murdering people, you're helping this terrorist organization. So great, you want to get your revenge, but you're doing it and doing all of these horrible things. So he's always this very complex character. I don't think his moral center's there. I think he's trying. And that to me makes him such a fascinating character, where he sort of continuously fails morally and struggles, with trying to become good. And he's getting there. He's kind of a good. He is heroic at this point, but it's a struggle. So he's a very complex and fascinating character. Best ninja, I think, in the line. And that is all I got to say about ninjas. It's a lot of ninjas. I'm sure I missed a couple. Please point out in the comments if I missed out on any, and let me know who your favorite ninja is. Let me know who you think the worst ninja is. Let me know if you're just tired of ninjas entirely. And, like, subscribe, all that crap. All right.